What's up, everybody? So when we ended yesterday's emergency pod by noting that we would be back on Thursday with a new episode, this is not what I had in mind. So, yeah, by now you now know the first iteration of the Kristaps Porzingis trade fell apart. Celtics audible, and at the stroke of midnight, a deal comes through that sends Marcus Smart to the Memphis Grizzlies to get Porzingis to Boston. Celtics also bring back a couple of first-round picks. I keep saying it. If you went to bed at 10 o'clock, I don't know if you were lucky or not to wake up to this news. I thought about doing this pod and undoing everything that me and B-Rab talked about right like at 1 a.m. Just wasn't in the mood. So I said, I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to get some iced coffee. Delicious. Maybe a donut. And see if I feel better in the morning. I do not. So it's hard, right? Like, I understand there was going to come a point where the Boston Celtics had to make tough decisions, decide whether they, what the next iteration of this team looks like. Brad Stevens has already had to make tough decisions throughout his brief tenure as GM, moving on from Kemba Walker in the infancy of taking over for Danny Ainge and bringing back Al Horford as he tried to sort of build the right supporting cast around the Jays. But Marcus Smart, man, just feels different. And I know there'll be some out there, some of you faithful watchers were not always in the Marcus Smart camp. We spent a lot of time on my network debating the merits of Marcus Smart, and I think you guys know where I fell. I thought he was really good for this core. Marcus certainly didn't have a particularly good year last year. The numbers with the Jays weren't as glossy as they had been in the past. His defense obviously took a step back after winning that award. You could tell me that, on the cusp of turning 30 next season, that there's worry, given the way that he plays, that he would be able to maintain his impact moving forward. And yet none of it really tempers the news that, the Celtics are moving in a different direction. Kristaps Porzingis, we'll see. Even when it was just Malcolm Brogdon in the deal, I was hesitant to just champion it as a definite win of a trade. Malcolm Brogdon was good for most of last year. Some flaws were exposed in the playoffs, and certainly arm injury didn't help. Will Malcolm Brogdon shoot north of 40% beyond the three-point arc again this season? I'm not sure. Will Malcolm Brogdon be on the roster for the Celtics? I'm really not sure. I'm sure there's, we've seen guys walk back to teams after trades fall apart. But I think the Celtics signaled with their movement, and we'll get into that in a minute about where this all goes. But I was thinking about it as my kids woke up this morning, and it's weird to say, there's always a big separation between, work life and personal life and the whole rooting for a team. And I grew up here, and of course I'm interested in how the Celtics fare, and my kids are Celtics fans. We got a dog during the pandemic. We were deciding what to name it. We almost called the dog Marcus Smart. And ultimately called him Kemba. So one way or another, the dog was getting traded at some point. But it just goes to show how players can sort of embed themselves with you, and there's emotions that go along with this thing. And so if you're one of those Celtics fans reeling on this Thursday morning, kind of pondering where the team is going from here, I'm with you. I feel that pain. I wish I could tell you unequivocally that the numbers suggest it's going to be better, that I know for certain this Porzingis move is gonna give them that nudge. I will relent that as much as I said I'd be okay with the run it back. I understand you couldn't just bring back the same exact core or same exact roster and expect to eliminate all the inconsistencies in this group. I did think that the start of this little makeover by adding Sam Cassell and Charles Lee and Phil Pressey and Joe having another year under his belt would help. Thought that would take some of the roller coaster out of the year. I thought just everybody having a full training camp and being better able to define the offensive system. Thought maybe Smart would bounce back a little bit. I thought Rob would be a little bit healthier. And I don't know if I thought Brogdon would be on the roster long term. I do think because of the upcoming second apron that there would need to be a move. I'm just not sure, especially after Brad came out and said, we really like our core. and it's all about building around them, that I saw Marcus Smart move coming. And so it's just a little bit of a shock. And again, as the Brogdon deal fizzles, you got to sort of be nimble and audible and figure out what's next. But, yeah, Marcus Smart. Love and trust era is over. Winning plays. And Marcus Smart was just a really good dude. I'm going to miss having him around in Boston. I'm going to miss his openness, his willingness to be the one that talks. You know, I keep trying to rack my brain about what this feels like. I think about 10 years ago, almost to the day, trading Garnett and Pierce. But I think we knew the end was in sight at that point, and there had to be a transition. I'm not sure I saw this kind of looming. Again, you know, there were hints. There was concerns about Smart moving forward, but certainly just not the way I figured Wednesday night would end. I will say, maybe we get into this in part two. I'm gonna try and collect myself a little bit before I maybe drink some more of this iced coffee before I get into what comes next. But just right off the cusp, you know, my big takeaway, man, it's weird. It's weird to wake up and after 9 years of Marcus Smart, every year they've been in the playoffs. You know, you think about it, they make that Pierce KG trade. They endure Brad's first rough season. Brad Stevens got hired like a week after that deal comes to fruition. Endure the roller coaster of year one and mostly downs on that thing, and they draft Marcus Smart with number 6. Remember the Smart and Young and Smart draft? Yeah, Smart is the only one that persevered out of that. But he's been the common thread through everything. Winning plays has been the common theme. Marcus Smart has been the heartbeat of this team, even if he's not the superstar or focal point with Jason and Jalen in town. And now, it's all changing. It's just kind of weird. Maybe we'll look back. Maybe we'll be like, man, we all reacted. Porzingis was really good for this team. But in the moment, it hurts. It hurts. All right, let me take a deep breath, and then we'll try to process what this means for the Celtics moving forward. Hey you! Have you downloaded the new NBC Sports Boston app yet? It has the latest news, analysis, commentary, and insights from the experts, including Tom Curran, Phil Perry, John Tomasi, and yours truly, Chris Forsberg. You can also listen to podcasts, follow live scores and stats, catch highlights, and watch behind-the-scenes content and interviews. You can download the NBC Sports Boston app now in the App Store or on Google Play. Find the link in the show notes. Let's try to spin this thing forward. What happens now? So my guess is you don't just have a deal for Marcus Smart and 2 first-round picks lying around if you weren't kind of plotting that there might be another deal coming. So I wonder if the Celtics had at least come to the realization that there might be a need to move on from Marcus this year, and maybe they had another plan for that point guard position. I'd love to tell you what that is, but certainly Derek White getting more minutes should be a good thing for this team. He should have played in crunch time last year, and whether it was Smart or Brogdon, removing one of those guys from the mix is going to open up the time that Derek White deserves, and puts another player that really accentuates the talents of the Jays alongside. So, that's a positive. Porzingis, we'll see. Again, on paper, the fit seems intriguing. 7'3" guy who can shoot 3-pointers should fit really well with Jason and Jalen. The looks that if all those looks that Marcus Smart were getting are now going to Kristaps Porzingis, feel pretty good. Okay, on the surface, that's a good thing, and we'll see how he fits. I mean, you know, if you watched yesterday's episode with me and B-Rob, we're trying to figure out the lineup, right? Like, all right, is it Derek White and no, I was gonna say Marcus Smart, but Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and then you go double big. So do you have Al out there? Al's gonna be in and out with back-to-backs. Do you go Rob and Porzingis? Is that sustainable? I know Rob plays a rover role on defense, but you know, when Porzingis stretches the floor, so maybe it's okay. Maybe you can get away with that. But I got to see it. So that's why there's a lot of maybes with this deal. If the deal means that Grant Williams is not back, there's a hole to fill there too, even though Grant obviously fell out of the rotation with Joe. And, ultimately I get it. If you're not going to play Grant next season and you feel like you've upgraded your big man spot and that he's not part of the plan moving forward, then don't pay him. Like, you try to flip for an asset, sign and trade, hope you get back something. I don't know if it's going to be as good as people think. Remember, there's base year compensation in play. Like, if you try to trade him to another team, given the Celtics tax status, like, it gets hard. 50% of return coming back, or you're settling for picks for a team that just is hoping to not have to pay him the overall. So yeah, it's there's some more shoes to drop, and maybe it starts tonight with draft night. Celtics do move up, get the 25th pick. Okay, moving up 10 spots. They've found talent in that range. You found a Grant Williams in that zone. Maybe you find somebody that helps fill out this rotation, who builds, who maybe a point guard of the future. Maybe it's another big man that fills out that stable of big men. I guess it's a lot of maybes here. I don't know. I feel like a lot of off seasons I know the path. I know what they've got in mind. I understood the Kemba Walker trade, or you're banking on Al Horford bouncing back. I understood last season, you kept pretty much the core intact from a finals run, and you add Brogdon and Gallinari. Now it's weird. And I will say this, B-Rob brought up a great point, something me and him had talked about a lot privately. It was a little frustrating that last year at the trade deadline, the Celtics weren't willing to move Danilo Gallinari's contract while he was injured to find someone that could have helped the pursuit of a title in that moment. Again, windows are never promised, and it felt like the Celtics have a sense of urgency this offseason to sort of shuffle it up a bit and get the right pieces out there for a championship run. Where was that urgency last year when the team, was positioned and clearly needed a little something, maybe another big or something that could help? I don't know if that would have changed the trajectory. Maybe Brogdon getting injured, maybe, Brown slumping in the playoffs, and everything that played out would have been enough to overcome the Miami Heat and Caleb Martin. Man, I gotta stop bringing up stuff because that's just getting me frustrated. First the Heat lost, and now Smart. Anyhow. Eager to see what comes next. Brad Stevens will have to step in front of the cameras and address all of this after tonight's draft, not only with the pick of the 25th pick, but offer some insight onto what's going down. Hopefully the deal will be in a more finished state by that, so we can actually talk about it and not have to punt on acknowledging it. But it goes back to it. I think my biggest concern moving forward is just like, we talked so much about identity last year, and the Celtics never really tapped into it, right? Like, they never got back to being that defense first team. They never got to the team that wasn't a track team, wasn't running from anybody, that, punched teams in the mouth in the second half of the 21-22 season and fueled that run to the playoffs. Without Smart here, it's just different. The dynamic is different. The voices in that room are different. How will the Celtics compensate? How will they plot a path forward? If you trust in Brad, if that is if we're going back to the old, in Danny we trust, if it's now in Brad we trust, all right, you can sell me on that. Brad has proven that he's not willing to sit on his hands and usually has a plan about how to reshape things, how to get the most out of his team. This is a pretty bold move in an offseason where a lot of us were probably thinking wasn't going to be quite bold. Time will tell. The other lingering thing here is Brogdon's health. If the Clippers were scared off, and you hear reports this morning that there's no guarantees they'll be able to now move him in a deal, that complicates matters a lot. First off, you can't have a $22.5 million player who isn't on the court. If he needs surgery, probably better to do it sooner than later and try to get him back out there. I was already worried about Brogdon's ability to maintain his shooting splits from last year, coming off an arm injury. Not going to inspire much confidence there. I wonder if the Celtics can find another move to make sure that they stay, that they don't just have to carry him. And I think about feelings. Like, it's natural. Like, trades are falling apart. Guys go back. But still, there's always this notion, man, this team wanted to get rid of me. And I don't care if you can justify it with the CBA or not. Things get weird. And so, a lot of question marks, a lot of maybes. Just hoping this iced coffee would make me feel a little bit better. I might need another one. Might need a couple on draft night. Buckle up. We'll be back again. Hopefully not to discuss a third iteration of this trade. I hope no one fails. Well, maybe you do hope that someone fails a physical so that Celtics have to get Marcus Smart back. But let's see what happens. Let's see where this road takes you. Evidently, there's going to be a lot of Celtics Talks podcasts moving forward because things are getting weird. And to all you people out there that are hurting this morning, I feel you. Let's put on a brave face. See where this goes. Like, subscribe, check us out on the YouTube page. Come hang out with us tonight. Draft special, 11 o'clock. Talking to Brad afterward. We'll be back with another Celtics Talk podcast at a point after that. So just, keep listening. We'll pretend like we know what's going on.